52 million Americans just woke up inside an enhanced risk zone this morning. A 60-knot mid-level jet is diving straight into the northeast this afternoon, and 2.5 inches of moisture are about to unload from Cleveland to New York. This is the setup meteorologists have been circling on the map for 3 days. Storm Prediction Center just upgraded the risk overnight while most of the country slept. Damaging winds, large hail, and a couple of strong tornadoes are all on the table today. So before we dive in, share your city in the comments to check your local threat. And stick around because Sunday shifts the whole target south into the Carolinas next. We are going to walk through every layer of this stacked severe weather setup today. First up, the enhanced risk breakdown and the exact cities inside the bullseye zone. Then we hit the mechanism driving it all and why this trough is so unseasonable. After that, city-by-city timing so you know when your window opens this afternoon. Then we roll into Sunday and the shift into Virginia and the Carolinas coming next. And we wrap with a comment prompt so you can tell us where to focus tomorrow. All right, let us get into the enhanced risk zone that covers 124,244 square miles. That orange blob on the SPC map stretches from Cleveland east to New York City proper. It swallows Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Washington, D.C. all in one continuous corridor today. 52.3 million people live inside that enhanced risk footprint right now around it. The slight risk zone tacks on another 44.8 million more Americans, and the marginal risk out beyond that covers another 34.2 million across the region. Add it up and you get roughly 131 million people watching one convective outlook today. That is not a normal summer Saturday for the eastern half of the country by any stretch. So the engine behind this is a rare summer upper trough sliding out of southern Ontario. It intensifies through the day and drops a 60-plus knot mid-level jet right overhead. That jet screams across eastern Canada and drapes over the northeast by lunchtime. Meanwhile, a surface low is deepening across the eastern St. Lawrence Valley of Canada. That low pulls a warm front north across eastern New York and southern New England. And south of that warm front is where the atmosphere gets genuinely juicy today. Dew points climb into the mid-70s from Virginia all the way up into Pennsylvania. That is Gulf of Mexico moisture parked over the mid-Atlantic on a July afternoon. MLCAPE values pop to 2,000 to 3,000 joules per kilogram by early afternoon. Combine that with almost zero inhibition and even modest heat and fire storms fast. Deep layer shear runs 35 to 45 knots, which is more than plenty for organized storms. And near the warm front, ESRH climbs to 200 to 300 square meters per second squared. Translation, any supercell that fires between southeast Pennsylvania and New Jersey can spin. A couple of strong tornadoes are absolutely possible in that specific corridor today. Now, ongoing overnight storms in central Pennsylvania are the wild card everybody is watching. If they crank fresh by mid-morning, they could re-intensify along the warm front zone. Backed low-level flow plus that ESRH means supercells become a real tornado threat. Southeast Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and southern New York. That is your tornado bullseye. Then farther south, a second batch of storms fires along a prefrontal confluence axis. This one develops east of the higher terrain from southern Pennsylvania into eastern Maryland. It drops down into northern Virginia and clips northern North Carolina by afternoon. Large buoyancy plus 30 to 40 knots of shear favors line segments and embedded supercells. Those storms crawl east toward Delmarva and the I-95 corridor by early afternoon. RAP and HRRR sounding show 40 to 50 knots of flow aloft as the jet streak arrives. And PWAT values sit between 2 and 2.5 inches across the whole region. That means big downdrafts, momentum transfer to the surface, and widespread damaging winds. Northeast Virginia, eastern Maryland, southeast Pennsylvania, and New Jersey are the wind bullseye. Higher wind probabilities near 60% are on the table if storms go linear. Widespread does not mean scattered. Folks, this is a corridor of concentrated damage risk. West of all that action, another broken band develops from Vermont to the lower Great Lakes. Strongest shear parks over upstate New York, northwest Pennsylvania, and northeast Ohio through today. Buffalo, Erie, Cleveland, and Rochester are watching for a few discrete supercells. Farther west, veered surface flow pushes storms into more linear modes with wind swaths. Erie, Pennsylvania, and Youngstown, Ohio sit inside that supercell corridor as well today. Anywhere from Toledo through Buffalo can catch quick, spin-up tornadoes under this setup. Keep radar apps live if you live along the I-90 corridor between Cleveland and Rochester. Isolated hail becomes an add-on threat with the stronger cells across the Great Lakes region. 70s dew points combined with low-level SRH keep the tornado threat alive up north too, especially close to the surface low, where low-level shear is more favorable for spin-up. All right, so what does this mean for the folks tuning in from big population centers? New York City Metro, your window opens between 2 p.m. and 8 p.m. this afternoon. Philadelphia, you are looking at 3 p.m. through 9 p.m. as the main threat time. Baltimore and Washington, D.C., your window is roughly 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. local time. Cleveland and Akron, your storms fire earlier, around noon to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Pittsburgh, expect a 2-round event with morning cells and a stronger afternoon punch. Newark, Trenton, and Wilmington are all inside the highest damaging wind probability zone. Long Island, expect an evening arrival between 6 p.m. and midnight local time tonight. Buffalo and Rochester, you are on the northern edge, but supercell risk is real up there. Boston, you are in the marginal risk, but late evening storms could still bring gust. Detroit, you sit in the slight risk zone and could see mid-afternoon severe cells. Indianapolis, your storms roll through late afternoon with damaging wind as the main threat. Columbus, Ohio, you are right on the edge of enhanced and slight boundaries today. Charlotte, North Carolina, you are in the slight risk with an evening severe window. Virginia Beach, you get the tail end of the mid-Atlantic action after dark tonight. Louisville and Lexington, you are marginal, but keep radar handy through evening hours. Grand Rapids, you are also marginal with a low-end wind threat into the evening. Chicago, you are in the marginal risk and mostly north of the main action today. Now, out west, the Northern Rockies have their own thing going on that is worth noting. A weakening upper low over the Pacific Northwest lifts northeast into southern Canada. Modestly enhanced southwesterly flow aloft holds over Montana and Idaho through evening. Monsoon moisture plus strong daytime heating fires scattered storms this afternoon out there. MLCAPE climbs near 1,000 joules per kilogram with 30-plus knots of effective shear. Isolated hail and localized damaging gusts are the main threats out in the mountains. Pensacola, Mobile, and Panama City are all inside that Gulf downburst zone this afternoon. New Orleans could catch late-day pop-up cells with brief but intense wind bursts, too. That MCV signature is unusual for mid-July and worth watching as it drifts westward tonight. Down south, a remnant MCV parks along the northern Gulf Coast for another round of storms. Vertical shear is limited, but locally moderate buoyancy plus very high PWAT keeps things active. Sporadic downbursts with damaging gusts are the story from Louisiana over to the Big Bend. Confidence is too low right now for wind probabilities down there, but keep radar handy, folks. Okay, quick pause here for something important before we roll into Sunday's forecast setup. This is exactly the kind of setup where local forecasts matter more than the national picture. So share your city and state in the comments and tell us where you are watching. I read every single one and I try to answer as many as humanly possible before evening. If you have specific radar questions or timing concerns for your town, ask them below too. And if you are new here, hit subscribe so tomorrow's Day 2 update lands in your feed. All right, back to the forecast because Sunday is not letting the eastern U.S. off the hook yet. Day 2 shows the severe threat shifting south into the Carolinas and Southeast Virginia zone. A slight risk covers 92,266 square miles and 8.6 million people from Charlotte to Norfolk. Raleigh, Greensboro, and Virginia Beach are all inside that Sunday severe corridor tomorrow. Winston-Salem, Richmond, Knoxville, Chattanooga, and Columbia are all in the marginal zone. That is another 15.4 million people watching skies for another round Sunday afternoon. That mechanism shifts on Sunday. And the threats look a little different from Saturday's setup. An upper trough over the eastern U.S. just refuses to move out for another 24 hours. At the surface, a cold front slides south across Virginia toward the North Carolina line. South of that front, dew points hold in the 70s and strong heating fuels instability. Deep layer flow drops off Sunday with effective shear only around 20 to 25 knots total. But steep low-level lapse rates plus PWAT values above 2 inches keep things dangerous. Storms that develop will pose a real risk for wet microburst across the corridor. Wet microburst means a wall of wind slamming down under a heavy rain shaft. No warning. Greater wind risk evolves closer to the cold front where storms cluster together nicely. Charlotte, your Sunday window opens early afternoon with wet microburst as the main threat. Raleigh, expect a mid-afternoon to early evening timing for your severe storm risk tomorrow. Norfolk and Virginia Beach, you get the coastal Carolina action into the evening hours. Richmond, you sit just north of the slight, but well inside the marginal footprint tomorrow. Knoxville and Chattanooga, your western edge storms could organize with microburst potential. Columbia, South Carolina, you are also marginal, but keep radar on through the afternoon. Now shift your eyes west because the northern plains have their own Sunday story brewing. A compact upper low over Alberta ejects southeast into the prairies and northern plains. As it moves, a belt of strong west-northwest flow overspreads Montana and the Dakotas. A surface cold front sags southeast through eastern Montana during the afternoon hours. It slides into the Dakotas during the evening and overnight hours by early Monday. Asheville and the Blue Ridge foothills also fall inside the Sunday marginal risk area tomorrow. If you camp or hike Sunday, plan around the 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. window for storms. Wet microbursts often hit with almost no warning, so trust the radar app on your phone. Southerly low-level flow ahead of the front pumps modest moisture northward through the region. Steep mid-level lapse rates support 1,000 to 2,000 joules per kilogram of ML Cape Sunday. Effective shear runs 40-plus knots, which is more than enough for organized supercells today. Initial convection may start cellular, posing a real risk for isolated large hail up there. Steep low-level lapse rates also support strong outflow winds under any organized cell. And if coverage gets high enough, a Boeing cluster of storms is on the Sunday table too. Southern and eastern Montana into the western Dakotas is the main Sunday severe zone out west. Billings, Miles City, Bismarck, and Dickinson are all watching for late afternoon supercells. Overnight storms may push east into northern Minnesota, though stronger capping cuts the risk. Duluth, keep an eye on the western horizon after dark for that overnight storm cluster. All right, that is a lot to absorb. So let us pull it all together into the big picture. Saturday, massive enhanced risk from Cleveland to New York with damaging winds primary. Sunday threat shifts south to the Carolinas and Virginia with wet microbursts leading. Sunday out west, northern plains hail and Boeing storm cluster from Montana into the Dakotas. That is a 2-day coast-to-coast severe outbreak across a huge chunk of the country. Fargo and Grand Forks watch for late Sunday overnight storm arrival from the west by dawn. Rapid City and the Black Hills could catch the leading edge before sunset Sunday evening. If you are camping in Theodore Roosevelt National Park, plan for evening lightning risk Sunday. Now here is a quick engagement question for you all before we roll into the closing recap. Which region do you want a deeper dive on for tomorrow's morning update video, please? Northeast severe recap, Carolinas Sunday timing, or the Northern Plains supercell setup. Drop your vote in the comments and I will build tomorrow's video around the top request. Also comment your city and state so we can pin the impact zones on the community tab. If you know somebody living in Cleveland, Philadelphia, or Norfolk, share this video with them. A heads up from a friend hits differently than a random push notification on a phone screen. Weather radios are cheap insurance for anybody in the enhanced risk zone this afternoon. Charge your devices, know your safe spot, and keep an eye on watches through the day. Watches will almost certainly go up across the enhanced risk zone by early afternoon today. Some of those watches could tag particularly dangerous situation language, so read them carefully. PDS watches mean the environment is off the charts primed for the specific threat listed. If you see PDS on your phone alert, take it seriously and move to your safe spot fast. Emergency managers across the affected corridor already staged resources heading into today's event. Red Cross teams pre-positioned supplies in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey overnight already. That should tell you how confident the professionals are in this specific severe weather setup. Because when the pros stage days out, the environment on the model runs is that clean. Now, one more note before we recap, because rainfall totals are going to be extreme too. Some spots in the Mid-Atlantic corridor could pick up 2 to 4 inches of rain today. That is flash flood territory in urban zones where storm drains cannot keep pace fast enough. Do not drive through flooded roads because 6 inches of water can carry a small car away. All right, remember those 3 numbers I opened this video with at the very top today? Never walk through moving flood water either, because 6 inches can knock an adult flat. Turn around, do not drown. That old saying still holds true every single summer. If your basement floods, cut the power before you step in the water down there. 52.3 million Americans locked inside an enhanced risk zone as we speak. 60 knots of mid-level jet stream punch is arriving overhead by early this afternoon. 2.5 inches of atmospheric moisture is loaded and ready to unload widely. Those 3 numbers tell you everything you need to know about the coming 12 hours. Now go check on your neighbors, charge your devices, and share this video with someone. Tomorrow morning's update drops early with the refined Sunday Carolinas timing details ready. And do not forget to tell us your city in the comments so we can pin your zone. Which region do you want us to dive deeper on for tomorrow's morning forecast update video? I read every comment and pick tomorrow's video topic based on what you request most. Thanks for tuning in. Stay safe out there today, and we will see you first thing tomorrow.